down in Dallas, Texas. You know, you can go down there and to Dealey Plaza where Kennedy was assassinated. And you can actually go to the 6th floor of the School Book Depository. It's a museum called the Assassination Museum. I think named that after the assassination. I can't be too sure of the chronology here, but anyway, they have the window set up to look exactly like it did on that day. And it's really accurate, you know, because Oswald's not in it. Yeah.
You cross a Jehovah's Witness with a Unitarian. Someone who comes and knocks on your door for no particular reason. Unitarians are religious too. They say their apparent belief is one God at the most.
I had a debate on the BBC recently with Canon Slee, one of the deputies of the Archbishop of Canterbury, in which I said that one of the things I disliked about Christianity when I was quite small was having to think of myself as a member of a flock. In other words, as a sheep or lamb. And also having to reflect that shepherds don't look after sheep just because they like them, though some shepherds like them much too much. But in order that they can first fleece them and then kill them.
It's really odd, in fact, that I chose to do this as a devil's advocate interview, but let's leave that aside.
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry, I have to now. I was asked by...
Oh, no.
It's an anecdote.
Not chapter 10.
It's an anecdote. I was asked... Oh, no, not chapter 10 again. Please, sir, not that. In case you don't know and haven't got the damn book yet, and I'm not sure it's not in there yet, but I was asked by the Vatican to testify against the sainthood nomination of Mother Teresa, against initially her beatification. And I said yes, of course. I was very honored to be asked. And yes, Your Holiness, the first time I've ever said that, and the last as well. So I went to testify, and I made a discovery that I thought I'd share with you. Everyone used to think they knew one thing about the Catholic Church, whether they were Catholics or not, that in sainthood arguments they have a devil's advocate, advocatus diaboli. And it was true until very recently. The last Pope scrapped this office. The office doesn't exist any longer. It was partly so he could fast-track sainthood. He made more saints, the last Pope did, than his 10 predecessors combined in double. So the advocatus diaboli office was shut down, no longer is there. So I had to testify just in a seminar room with a Monsignor and a deacon and a priest and a tape recorder and a Bible. And I realized halfway through that I'd just become the first person in history to have represented the devil pro bono. What if they'd listened to the atheist community in Northern Ireland, which is a real thing, and if they'd listened to the secular movement in Northern Ireland, which is a real thing, and I know many people who've suffered dreadfully from membership in it, not excluding being pulled out of a car by a man in a balaclava and asked, are you Catholic or Protestant? He said, I'm Jewish atheist, actually. He said, what are you, a Protestant Jewish atheist or a Catholic?
No one, though they were asked repeatedly, would say whether they thought Stephen Fry, my friend, was in a state of mortal sin or not. They wouldn't tell you. Something about the question brought out their inner coward. Well, I say that homosexuality is not just a form of sex, it's a form of love, and it deserves our respect for that reason. That when my children were young, I'd have been proud to have Stephen as their babysitter, and I told them they were lucky. And if anyone came to my door as a babysitter wearing holy orders, I'd call first a cab and then the police.
It is true that Christianity has adopted many of the best values of humanity, but they don't belong to Christianity, or indeed to any other religion. I think it would be very sad if it were true that you really did need religion in order to be good. Because if you think about it, what that would mean would be either that you get your morals and your values from the Bible or the Quran or some other holy book, or that you are good only because you're frightened of God, because you don't want to go to hell or you do want to go to heaven. Now, as for getting your morals from the Bible, I very sincerely hope nobody does get their morals from the Bible. It's true that you can find the occasional good verse, and the Sermon on the Mount would be one example, but it's lost amid the awful things that are dotted throughout the Old Testament and actually throughout the New Testament as well, because the idea, the fundamental idea of New Testament Christianity, which is that Jesus is the Son of God who is redeeming humanity from original sin, the idea that we are born in sin, and the only way we can be redeemed from sin is through the death of Jesus. I mean, that's a horrible idea. It's a horrible idea that God, this paragon of wisdom and knowledge, power, couldn't think of a better way to forgive us our sins than to come down to earth in his alter ego as his son and have himself hideously tortured and executed.
To approach the end of life, do you have any fear of some kind of afterlife, or do you feel that that is just an
No, I think
impossibility?
that's nonsense.
There is no afterlife.
None whatever.
In the bullshit department, a businessman can't hold a candle to a clergyman. Because I got to tell you the truth, folks. I got to tell you the truth. When it comes to bullshit, big time, major league bullshit, you have to stand in awe of the all-time champion of false promises and exaggerated claims, religion. No contest. No contest. Religion easily has the greatest bullshit story ever told. Think about it. Religion has actually convinced people that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.
That's another good thing about Bush being gone, man, because for the last 12 years with Reagan and Bush, we have had fundamentalist Christians in the White House. Fundamentalist Christians who believe the Bible is the exact Word of God, including that wacky fire and brimstone Revelations ending, have had their finger on the fucking button for 12 years. Tell me when, Lord. Tell me when. Let me be your servant, Lord. Fundamentalist Christianity, fascinating. These people actually believe the world is 12,000 years old. Swear to God. Based on what? I asked them. Well, we looked at all the people in the Bible and we added them up all the way back to Adam and Eve, their ages, 12,000 years. Well, how fucking scientific. Okay. I didn't know that you'd gone to so much trouble there. That's good. You believe the world's 12,000 years old. That's right. Okay, I got one word to ask you. One word question. Ready? Dinosaur.
You've got people coming along and saying, the Romans never existed, the Latin language is a Victorian invention designed to,
And I think that's a perfect example of the hostility that those who favor evolution have toward those who don't buy into the idea, who say, show us the evidence, and yet those in favor of evolution can't show us the evidence that we're looking for.
I'm sorry, but we can show you the evidence. All you need to do is read an elementary textbook of biology. It's all there.
Well, that's interesting you should bring out the textbooks on biology. We still have textbooks today.
Yeah, I know you're going to talk about peppered moths and you're going to talk about Haeckel's embryos.
No. In fact, what I was going to talk about is what they claim to be the evolution of a fetus in the womb, based on hand drawings, which have been proven to be false, and yet they continue to be published in scientific textbooks.
Haeckel's embryos are just one little thing. It's a Victorian thing. Plenty of people made mistakes in
and yet continues to be published in today's textbooks.
Well, no longer, actually, but I don't think it's really fair, is it, to pick on particular Victorian mistakes. It is a Victorian mistake.
Oh, but it was carried over into the 20th century.
Yes, and that was a mistake, and that's been corrected. But look at the massive evidence that there is today. I can't help feeling that there's some sort of hidden agenda. Maybe I was wrong to say it was a thing about tell people that they're descended from monkeys and they'll behave like monkeys? Is it something else? I mean, is there some other worry that you have?
If you're looking for a so-called agenda, I'll tell you what it is. We believe that human beings should be treated with respect and dignity.
Yes.
And the reason we believe
so do I,
that,
of course.
the reason we believe that is because we can see that God created each one of us. And what we find is that philosophies that are built on evolution oftentimes lead to horrific abuses against human beings. And you can see why, because it's drawn on a foundation that says human beings are just material, and they should be judged according to their utilitarian use. What can they provide for society?
Okay.
We don't believe that.
Yes, okay.
We believe that each human being, whether they can supply something to society or not, if they are disabled, if they are young, that they should be treated with the same amount of respect as you and I should be treated.
Yes, I mean, I accept all that, and I agree with that. I mean, I also think humans should be treated with respect. But what we have here is an agenda. It's that you want humans to be treated with respect, and therefore, if the scientific facts go against what your perception is, then you're going to distort the scientific facts.
Let's look at what evolution and Darwinism has spawned. Let's look at the philosophies that have come out of it that have been so horrific to our world. So we need to look at the philosophies behind and that have grown out of evolution. And what we find are the societies that are the most loving and caring, the societies that are the most well-functioning, are the ones that have a great respect for human beings, for others, because they recognize that each human being was created individually and is distinct from one another. Interesting enough, regarding that, you mentioned how the DNA is common among various species. But among human beings, each one of us has distinct DNA. In fact, that's the one. That's one thing that's quite a way that. Sorry, back up. That's one thing that scientists will use to determine who has committed a crime, is basing it on the DNA evidence. So even DNA helps to show that each human being was created individually.
DNA shows that each human being evolved individually, and of course there are individual differences between human beings, genetic differences, otherwise natural selection couldn't happen. Now, I presented you with, I don't have them here obviously, but you can go to any museum and you can see Australopithecus, you can see Homo habilis, you can see Homo erectus, you can see archaic Homo sapiens and modern Homo sapiens. A beautiful series of intermediates. Why do you keep saying present me with the evidence when I've done so? Go to the museum and look.
I have gone to the museums, and so have so many of us who still are not convinced
have you
with
seen
evolution.
Have you seen Homo erectus?
And I think that this effort, this rather aggressive effort to try and talk over us and to censor us, seems to come out of a frustration that so many people still don't believe in evolution. Now, if evolutionists were so confident in their beliefs, there wouldn't be the effort to censor out information that shows that evolution is still lacking and is questionable.
I confess to being frustrated. It's not about suppression, it's about the fact that I have told you about 4 or 5 fossils, and you seem to simply be ignoring what I'm saying. Why don't you go and look at those fossils?
And certainly, if they were in the museums, which I've been to many times, then I would look at them objectively. But what I go back to is that the philosophy of evolution has led to.
Oh, God, it's pathetic.